Hey guys, it's me again. So I want to talk about misogyny versus misandry. So a lot of people say that there's a lot of misogyny still left in our society, a lot of sexism against women, that kind of thing. And you know what? Yeah, sure, there is. I'm not going to lie about that. There is a lot of misogyny, but I will also agree that there is a lot of misandry as well, sexism against men. And a lot of feminists say, no, this doesn't exist. But yes, it does. And then, of course, a lot of anti-feminists say, oh, misogyny doesn't really exist anymore. Of course it does. It comes from both sides. And that's where right and left wingers hate me, because I'm willing to acknowledge both sides. So if you want to talk about misogyny, just go to a feminist blog or whatever. But I'm going to talk about misandry since a lot of people don't seem to believe that it's really a thing, or they don't treat it with the seriousness that it deserves. So first, let's talk about sexual harassment, sexual assault. Of course, there are still people who, if a woman claims that she was sexually harassed and sexually assaulted, the first thing that people are going to say is like, oh, well, what were you wearing? What were you doing? You need to be careful because if you dress in certain ways, people are going to get thoughts, and that's victim blaming. But at the same time, the misandry exists as well. So there are a lot of times, actually, there was someone that I personally knew who was accused of raping someone, and they didn't. They flat out didn't. Eventually, it was realized that there was not enough evidence to convict them. But at the same time, I feel men are much more likely to be falsely accused of rape than women. So there was an event that happened in the town that I used to live in where a guy was falsely accused. Not the same guy that I was talking about, but it was a full-on witch hunt. Like the people in charge of the investigation were abusing their power, trying to force people to admit that this guy did it when in fact he didn't. And it was a huge corruption issue. There was a big investigation where, yes, these people got in trouble for threatening to end people's careers, to smear their name through the dirt because they would not say that this guy did it. And a lot of these people who were interrogated didn't even know the guy in question. So yes, there was a full-on witch hunt. So I feel like when men are more often falsely accused of rape than women, and men are often seen as the predatory type, so they are much less likely to get off of the charges. They are more likely to have that conviction upheld than women. So yeah, a lot of misandry there. Also, men are more likely to hide the fact that they were sexually assaulted. Women are more likely to come forward because, people tell men that they need to man up, suck it up, and if a man admits that they were sexually assaulted, usually there will be two ridiculous arguments that are brought forth, or ridiculous things that people say that are brought forth. One is, well, first off, if it was sexual assault from another man, then it's like, oh, well, what, are you gay? Like, so they'll accuse the victim of being gay. If it was a woman, they usually won't even take it seriously at all because it's like, oh yeah, you're a man, you got overpowered by a woman. Or they would say something like, dude, this is the kind of treatment that a lot of guys dream of. You should be enjoying it. And people really don't say that to women. So yes, that does tend to happen more. And then another thing, putting sexual assault and sexual harassment aside, let's talk about interests. So if a woman likes something that is typically marketed toward men, like if a woman likes, science fiction or superheroes or sports, then it's like, oh yeah, she's super cool, that's awesome, we can hang out with her. Whereas if a man claims to like something that's typically geared towards women, like if a man likes to, decorate houses, or, if a man likes to, work in anything associated with like improving people's appearance, like they work at a like fashion beauty shop, something like that, or if they take interest in things like that, then of course, people laugh at them and they're like, oh, why do you like that? That's for girls. What, are you gay? That whole thing again. So yeah, it is more acceptable for a woman to like something marketed toward men than it is for the opposite. Now, here's what a lot of people say. A lot of feminists will say, well, the reason for that is because things that are geared towards women are seen to be inferior to things geared towards men. So even though it looks like misandry, it's actually misogyny because they're putting down the things that are geared towards women. And, that may be true. They may, the reasoning for that may be because they see things for women as being inferior to things that are typically for men. But here's the question that you have to ask. Who's suffering for it? Men are suffering for it, and that's what makes it misandry and not misogyny. So now let's talk about kids. So a woman can go up to someone else's kid and be like, oh, your kid's so cute, can I hold them? And they'll hold them and give them little hugs and stuff. A man can do that, and it's seen as creepy. Same thing if, there have been things, anecdotes from other individuals that I've known where it's like if there's a kid lost in a department store and a woman goes up to them and helps them find their parents, then the parents are usually like, thank you so much. But if a man were to do it and they were to help the kid find their parents, I've heard a lot of experiences where they would say things like, oh, get away from our kid, what are you, a pedophile, that kind of thing. It's gotten to the point where if I see a kid who's lost in a department store, I'm not even going to talk to him, because I would be too afraid of being accused of being a pedophile and, that whole false accusation, that I was talking about with sexual assault and being put on an offender registry and having my life ruined because I was trying to help someone out. So no, I'm not going to help someone out anymore because the fear of being falsely accused of something, the risk of that is too great. Also, speaking of kids, let's talk about custody. Now, two people could get divorced, and more often than not, the judges or the courts, so to speak, it is more likely that they will give the child back to its mother. Even if the mother is the more unfit parent, they are more likely to get the child. Now, thankfully, it doesn't happen all the time. A friend of mine did get custody of his daughter because his wife was insane, but the fact of the matter is it's more likely than not that they'll go to the mother because, mothers are seen as the, quote, nurturing ones, even if they're not in reality. So yes, there is discrimination against men in that sort of thing. Now, I'm not one of these men's rights kind of people. I do believe that women have a lot of issues they have to face, especially in the workplace. Now, I don't believe in the pay gap where, on average women earn like 70 cents to every dollar that men make. In some professions that may be more correct, but if you really average it out, it's really not that much less than men. It's like a 6-cent difference, which, it's still a disparity. And I do feel that there are other issues that face women, like if there's an ambitious woman in the workplace, she is treated with more contempt than an ambitious man, that sort of thing. So I do agree that there is misogyny in a lot of places, but there is still, even with that, I would say there is an equal amount of misandry. It's that no one really takes it seriously, and it should be taken seriously. So let me know what you guys think in the comments.